like on your tracker sheet, if you're not consistently day after day consuming 7 or 8 glasses of water, instead of looking at that area of your wellness and saying, I'm going to tackle that, I can drink 7 or 8 glasses of water. You kind of want to look at what you're currently doing, and then a small gradual approach to tackling that would be, can I be successful at adding 1 more glass of water to my day-to-day routine? And go in it with a specific approach to when you're going to have that, what you need to be prepared to make that work. And the science behind behavior change talks about having a reminder, so how are you going to remember to do it? So a lot of times people just don't do certain things because they just forget, they're so busy. And so if you're already doing a set of things in your day-to-day routine, so what you do is you go, you take a look at what you're doing, make a list of those things that you do on a daily basis, and you say, okay, well, I shower every day. What if I think about, before I jump in the shower, having a glass of water? So whenever you go to shower, you have that cue to remind you to drink a glass of water. And it could be before, it could be when you're brushing your teeth in the morning, it could be when you're having breakfast. It's things you already currently do, and pair it with that, and then you do the actual act of drinking the 1 glass of water, and then you reward yourself with something. Even if it's like just being like, awesome, I did something positive for myself today. Even just saying that to yourself can be a reward. Or you could come up with a reward system, like every time you do a small positive behavior change, you put aside, a quarter or $1, and then at the end of the month, if you're complying with your small changes, you can reward yourself by, buying something or going to the movies or, whatever the case may be.
And I think the big point with that is just this being so specific with it, because it's so easy to say, I'm going to drink more water, or I'm going to drink 1 more glass of water. But until you actually give it that specific habit that you already do and replicate that each time you do it, then that's what really makes it a habit and builds it into your life versus doing it sometimes this other time. But having that very specific change that you're building it in after is really the key for that small habit.
Yes, we started, but now we're going to officially start. So thanks for coming tonight. After the first time we went through the program, I think there's about 50-something members in our group who have had access to doing the program. That doesn't mean all 56 have looked at the information or followed along. And every time we do a program, whether it's live here in person or it's online and we're sending emails out, there always are there always are going to be people that aren't sticking with it. And so you just being here tonight is awesome. It's positive that you're saying, I invested money and time in this program and I want to get as much out of it as possible. So just an example, when we first kick off a program, and sometimes we'll send out that first initial email with kind of directions, kind of giving people an understanding of what's to come. 95% of people open that email. If it's a 4-week program, if it's a 6-week program, it just drastically goes down. So if you guys, and I have confidence in you because you guys are the ones who came here tonight, so that's, again, it's just showing that you're going to take some time and energy and put in some work. But it's day 1. We've already started the program, but it doesn't matter the exact time frame that you go through this material. It's just you guys setting aside time to go through the resources. Whether or not you are 90% compliant or not, or you go through the program the first time around and you can get to all the information, that's definitely not what we want you to dwell on. We want you to just go through it, do the best you can, and be easy on yourself, because there is no such thing as perfection. And after you go through it, you're going to absorb certain things. Some concepts are going to stick, some aren't. And like I said, I just went through the first month again, and I'm like, this is even learning things that I'm like, yeah, I could probably tweak that around and incorporate that into my life, and the next time I approach it, I'm going to be a little bit better. And so you, again, have lifetime access to the program, so we want you to know that. Like, don't beat yourself up. Don't feel like if you get left behind, it's, you have to completely stop. It's always going to be there. We'll always be a resource to help you, guide you through the program. So again, thanks for coming tonight. I'm Joey.
I'm Steve.
And so the first part that I wanted to go over is just some of the things that we have and you guys have as far as the print material. So we have the end of the month evaluation.
And that's something you guys won't look at yet, but in a few weeks, you'll be going back to that.
There's the Healthy Habits Formula tracker sheet, which is the first small change. And then this is also something that we're kind of going to cover kind of the first month and then kind of gradually into the second month of the program, but we're going to have a second workshop, and it is filmed. We love having you guys here. I think you'll gain more out of it by being here, but you will have an opportunity to go back and look at it. So here's a weekly meal planner, which our second month is all about preparation. So like your first question was, what's an example of a small change? And then he was like saying, what's important is not being really general with it. Like I need to eat more vegetables. Well, it's like that might be true from looking at your tracker sheet, but how are you going to go about doing that? And preparation becomes, so essential to be able to incorporate small changes into your life. So you guys are in the Facebook group. You all have your members area access. Do you have any questions on how to navigate that? Does that seem pretty easy to work? Are you guys all getting the emails that we've been sending? Okay. Cool.
How has the tracking sheet been going? Has anybody started on their tracking sheet, noticed any patterns, saw anything that was surprising, or?
You can tell the weekend.
You can tell the weekend. yeah.
So easy to tell the weekend.
For sure.
Anyone else have any comments on their tracker sheet? Or?
Yeah, I don't think I've eaten enough healthy fats in each meal.
Okay.
So just stuff like that.
Just noticing little things.
Yeah,
Okay.
maybe 2 meals, but what about a third? Or
Right.
okay. So just trying to really focus on that as well.
And one thing we'll get into a little bit more, but meals can also be, snacks.
Yeah.
If you're having 3 meals plus 2 snacks,
Yeah.
if one snack is, say, a handful of nuts or something like that, that would be considered your healthy fats.
Right.
And so that's something to think about too, is just, definitely don't rush into it or try and change too much too soon. But little things like that, it doesn't have to be for everyone else who hasn't heard that before, a full meal. It can be one of your snacks throughout the day too.
Yeah.
So, as long as you're getting 3 meals, including snacks of those categories.
So the first month of this program is tracking, and the reason behind that is we just want to become aware of what our current day-to-day habits and routines are. As you go through the tracker, don't try and change things, just go through your normal day-to-day routine and mark off whether you did that or you didn't do it. The goal and complying with this small change this month is just, did you fill out your tracker sheet? So as easy as that seems, because it does only take 30 seconds, there's things you have to do, the preparation to be successful with that is, do you see it every day? Do you kind of have a plan for when you're going to do it? And the best time to do it is towards the end of the day, because it's fresh in your mind. And a lot of people that had the most success the first go around is setting it on their nightstand, setting it by their where they have a toothbrush in their bathroom, something that you're going to do again on a day-to-day basis. Most people will brush their teeth or whatever their bedtime activities are, and then again, most people are sleeping at night, so most people are going to be getting in bed. And so if you can have it to where there's a place where you go every day, hopefully you won't forget to do the tracker sheet.
And making sure you have a pen there too. So I remember the first time I went through it, I set it on my nightstand, And for about 3 nights I didn't do it because there wasn't a pen. And that was an extra step, just going to the other room, getting a pen, coming back. And so, it's the little things you don't think about that can really become barriers. So that's why, preparation can be so big, is having it somewhere you're going to fill it out. Everything's there for you, so you don't have that excuse of, I don't know where a pen is, I'm going to bed. And just, having it ready for you.
So then the other thing is, after this first month, we want you guys to be 90% compliant with this tracker sheet. And in a way, it's like, it seems silly, like, is there something specific about 90%? And it's not so much that 90% specific, it could be 85-15. Everyone has a balance of, what healthy habits they're doing in their lives. Are they complying like on a week-to-week basis, a month-to-month, and a year-to-year basis? And that balance eventually will be something that you can figure out what works for your own life. And you want to align your habits with your goals. If they aren't aligned, then it's like you're kind of going to be torn. It's like, I want to live a healthy, active lifestyle, but I also want these other things. So kind of figuring out what's important and what's at the top of your priority list becomes a big thing. But also, just trusting this program and trusting this process of the program of just being aware. If you're doing the tracker sheet, you're kind of, your mindset's like, this is an important part to find out what my day-to-day habits are. So that way, when I do go on and choose my own small change, I'm going to have an accurate representation. And oftentimes, if you do answer honestly with the tracker sheet, your first small change isn't going to be hard to figure out. It's going to be like, whoa, like I'm not eating healthy fats, like Ron said. So it'd be like, well, that's a clear, place to start. If you're unsure about what you can improve in your with your nutrition, or if it's the fitness, or if it's the sleep, it's like, that will be, easy for you to make that next step.
And another thing with the 90% compliance is also, it's very typical and common for us to want to do a lot and change a lot and have a lot going on and make those big leaps. But, if you're having trouble just taking 30 seconds to really track that out, then, how successful do you really think you're going to be if you decide you're going to change 7 or 8 or 9 more things in your life? And so part of it is also just reinforcing that slow process, taking the gradual steps, becoming aware of what's going on, and then once it becomes a habit, then building on to the next one. Because part of it is, like Joey said, it's the process. And until you can get the process down of building one thing into your life and making it stick, then, the more things you add, they're just going to fall to the wayside, as is common if it's not truly built into your lifestyle. And there was one thing Joey and I was talking about earlier, about sometimes it forces you to almost change your identity. If you're not somebody who identifies yourself as an organized person, then tracking and filling out a calendar can typically become something that's completely alien to you. And so being able to be okay with trying an approach you've never done before because it's something that has worked for other people is something you may need to consider and work on building that into your life or trying it out, because it could be an identity issue, something that you've never done before and are completely unfamiliar with, but that could be part of the key to helping you make that next step. And so, just highlighting that too, because that does become a big part in a lot of these changes.
And so, before we move on from the tracker sheet, were you prepared for your daily habits? And then, did you check the Healthy Habits Formula website or email today? Some of you guys have started it. The video, Steve does a great job to clearly explain, what we mean by how small the change is the first change. It's like you're successful just by tracking it. And then the other thing, which this isn't part of the compliance, but getting the emails, opening the emails, seeing what we post in the Facebook group, you have to check in from time to time on those things. Do you have to do it daily? No. But the more you engage, the more you set time aside to go through this information, the better outcome you're going to get. The people who we've heard, like, just come up to us and say, oh, that was a super awesome, article or video, or, I got a real, big aha moment from that. It's like, those were the people that went through the program. It might have been, halfway through the second month, and it's like, sweet, you're still kind of watching the videos, you're still going through it. So,
and sometimes they come up to us, 2 weeks after we had sent the video, but they were still catching up when they could and setting at least that half hour or 20 minutes aside on the weekend or after work or whenever it fit their schedule, just to stay on top of it. And that just goes back to, a lot of people would get overwhelmed, 2-3 weeks would go by, and then they just stop because they felt like they were so far behind. So it's okay to go back and pick it up where you left off. But the information does really sort of help, also highlight why we take the specific approach we take to.
That first video also goes over the evaluation. Does anybody that has seen the video have any questions, or did it make sense as far as the end of the month evaluation? So just to reiterate, you're going to be doing a body composition assessment, so just jumping on a scale. If your goal is body composition, weight loss, then a great way to measure that is to actually do before and after pictures, because changes are subtle, and so it's nice to be able to have something that you can look at, because again, when you're looking at yourself in the mirror every day, it's like even if something changes, you may not notice that change, but if you have that snapshot of when you started the program to a month into it, 2 months, 6 months, 1 year later, you can it's nice and positive to have something to look back on and say, again, even though I've been taking this small gains approach, like over the course of 6 months, over the course of a year, over the course of 5 years, it's like massive changes happen, and that's neat to have. The second part is the lifestyle assessment. And so there's 6 questions: physical pain, energy levels, self-confidence, general happiness, stress levels, and quality of sleep. So with this, just like the tracker sheet, you're just looking back at a month of your life and kind of rating how those areas are. So it's kind of the general wellness assessment that we have. And so just again, answering honestly, trying to get an accurate interpretation of where you are on those different things. So 10 is the best all of them could possibly be, and 1 is the worst score you could possibly give yourself. So chances are you won't have a lot of 1s or a lot of 10s. You'll fall somewhere in between there. But in general, a higher score means you're making 1 step closer to your wellness goals on that. And then the last and most important part probably is measuring your compliance. Are you actually doing what you set out to do? Kind of based on having an organized plan on what you think is going to be a good step in the right direction, and then did you actually do that work?
And that should be easy to count just based on the tracker sheet, because it's got the little box on the end of did you prepare for your daily habit. And that's really the indicator that you can go back to see if you were really complying and what that percentage was. Because in our first month, checking that box just means you're tracking. But once you start building your habits or changing things in your life, then that box is going to become whatever habit you change. And so that's just a good way of, tracking that, and then being able to look back and go, oh, I did 20 out of 30. So, that was only 67%. Or, maybe I did 27 out of 30, there's your 90%. And so it makes a real quick snapshot where you don't have to sit there and think, well, I think I was about, 50 or 90%. It gives you that real concrete number of how much you prepared and how well you built that in.
Question?
So physical pain, do you mean like injuries? Do you mean just getting out of bed? Some people are...
An injury would fall into that category.
Because sometimes what you'll find is if you add in too much of something, you try and jump into exercise too quick, or you do something like that, it could potentially increase your physical pain versus the opposite. And so, making sure it's got that balanced approach to where, you figure out where that happy median is to where everything can start, moving in that positive direction. So yeah, injury, waking up, really anything that causes physical pain. Even if it's, you know, completely out of your control, say, you know, you're running and then all of a sudden you just hit a rock and you blow your ankle out. You know, you can write that you have high physical pain, but you can also make a footnote of what caused it too, just so you have that indicator.
And then this will be after you go over the tracking and create a small habit change. All your habits may not be a daily thing, so it's not going to be like you're not going to measure compliance on a monthly basis or 30 days or 31 days. You may be adding one more day of exercise into your routine, and if that's the case, your total exercises for the month might end up being 12 or 3 a week, so you're going from 2 to 3. And so you can do a quick, simple little math equation to see if you're complying. The smaller number it is, it's like you can't really miss a lot to be compliant with that. And so part of this program, and you'll get to it in the resources, instead of having outcome-based goals, you want to have identity-based goals. Identity-based goals means you're, again, open to being that new person. If you want to reach a weight loss goal, really you want to have the identity of a healthy, fit person. So you're the type of person who never misses their workout. So if you have a goal to work out 8 times a month or 12 times, it's like, if that's important to you and you want to be that person, you want to comply to that lifestyle, and the goal, the outcome based goal that you want always follows the actual work you put in. So if you spend so much time focusing on the 20-pound weight loss goal and not a lot of time complying with the small changes that get you there, you're kind of just not focusing on the area where you should be, because again, that change will always follow the small steps and the action you take, your day-to-day habits and routines.
Another example of one of the small changes you could potentially make that is more of a, you know, a weekly or a monthly thing is, I give this video later on in the program because it was one of the first changes I made, but it was food preparation, and I only prepped my food once a week because, you know, I didn't have time to do it every day or every other day. So my small change was setting, you know, an hour, 2 hours aside on Sunday. And so for me, I only had 4 boxes where I would mark, you know, if I was compliant or not. And so, like Joey was saying, it doesn't have to be every day. You just need to find out, you know, exactly what's going to work for you for that small change, and just try to adhere to that. It doesn't need to be all the time, but it does need to be consistent with whatever lifestyle or identity you're trying to pursue.
And that example would be like, you look at your tracker sheet and you're not consuming enough vegetables. Well, your goal you might first think, I want to consume more vegetables. But the second month is all about preparation. What is it going to take for you to be successful at incorporating more vegetables? And he decided that if he's not prepared to eat them, it's already too late. So preparation becomes an actual small change. I mean, it really becomes almost the name of the game. You want to change something in your life, and you go out and try to do it, and then you realize, I wasn't 90% compliant. Well, what got in my way? What do I need to do next time or next month to be closer to that 90% compliance? And almost all the time, it's, I need to be better prepared to be successful that day. You know, so if it's, there's just so many examples, I think.
For me, the real aha moment was that I was over at Briar Patch getting a salad. I was like, man, I wish I had all these fresh veggies available at my house to throw on my salad. Because, you know, so I went out and I bought all the fresh veggies, I bought the salad, and then I still wouldn't make it. And I was like, why am I not making this salad? And it's because they weren't chopped up, they weren't in a separate container, and I wasn't ready to toss them on my food. And so that's what I found out I had to do. I had to, after I bought them, chop them up, put them in a little Ziploc, throw them in the fridge before I did anything else. And then throughout the week, it was easy to, oh, there's everything I need. Just toss it in a bowl, throw on some dressing, done. You know, I didn't have to take all of those steps each time I wanted to grab a salad or grab some vegetables, or, you know, even had them extra to toss them in stir fryer and an omelet. But it was that setting the time aside to prep them and have them ready that made that big difference. And sometimes it does take that process to where you try something and it doesn't work. And so you have to sort of take it back to a more specific approach and say, okay, if that didn't work, what else do I need to do to it to make it work for me?
And the thing that like comes to my mind when he talks about that too is that if he was super motivated all the time, he probably would have the ability to eat that meal with vegetables even if he had to prepare it right then and there. But motivation, like Ron said, is only going to get you so far. We can't rely on being super inspired every day when we wake up or super motivated. And so the science behind behavior change, it's really how small and easy can we make it for ourselves to succeed. And even so, you can't have too small of a small behavior change, because when you succeed and comply to something, you're also building more confidence in yourself to be successful at that. And over time, that's the other reason how the compound effect works to your advantage. You're gaining more self-confidence to, take on more, but you don't get there overnight. You learn new skill sets and new behaviors, and you're building kind of a foundation that allows you to be a little bit better, or maybe move a little bit faster. And so there's some great concepts that we'd love to talk about in more detail, but like tonight we just want to inspire you to like definitely do the work, go through this information. I'm excited to go through it again because, like I said, each time I go through it, it clicks a little bit more, and I can understand that the first time I do it, I'm not going to be perfect. I'm kind of just learning, and practicing this stuff is also going to help, because we learn through failure, we learn through what didn't work, and then if we can accept that and be okay with it, we can move on and make that adjustment versus, again, scratching an entire model or an entire approach and replacing it with another new set of tactics, which is so the quick fix is the opposite of this program. We believe with everything in our hearts that you can get to wherever place you want to be by taking the slow, gradual approach, and it's almost impossible to just think you're going to get there with this overnight success, or I can follow this set of instructions, because we're all super unique and we all have a different background. We were all raised with different food preferences, and so there's definitely not one specific nutrition model that is going to be the ideal approach for you. And so by putting in the time and energy yourself, with some of these tools you're going to learn in a Healthy Habits formula, we're definitely, we believe that you can figure out what's going to be the best approach for you, and definitely make the changes you're looking to make. I want to go over month 3.
Yeah, and so going through, month 1 we're going to be doing tracking. Moving on to month 2, we're going to start with the preparation of, changing things that are, really lacking through month 1. And that's going to lead you to month 3, which is going to be replacing a bad habit with a better habit. Now, I say a better habit because it doesn't necessarily have to be a good habit right away. It's, all about the small approach. So, say you have a habit of having 3 beers, when you come home from work. A better habit would be limiting that to 1 or 2. And so it's not necessarily removing horrible things from your life, but it's using your tracking and using your preparation to understand how you can make some of those changes a little bit better. If you typically have dessert every single night, it could be taking it away on Fridays or taking it away on Mondays, but figuring out that better habit that you can build in that is going to make you a little bit more prepared. And that's one that you really need to finish the first month and the second month to really do it successfully, which is why we built that in as our 3rd month. Simply because anytime you try and take something away, you're already going to still have that impulse to want to do it. And so one of my first things that I struggled with was just excess snacking when I had stuff all over the counters. I'd have chips, or I'd have nuts, or I'd have all this stuff. And so my first thing was removing those and putting them in the drawer, not having them in the house. But what ended up happening was the craving didn't leave. I still wanted to go for them. I still wanted to do something to satisfy that urge. And so I'd end up either opening the cabinets and pulling it out and just doing the same thing, or sometimes I would even leave my house, drive to the store, pick it up, and buy it, when my whole intention was to not have it in the house, and now I've got, a fresh bag. So it was figuring out something that was better than what I was already doing, but still making it either just as available or just as built into your habits, because that's going to help step you away from whatever that is. And so for me, it was just having something else prepped, and this went along with the meal prep. When I had that extra food prep, I wouldn't go around snacking the quick stuff, because the quick stuff was already prepped in the fridge and ready. And so it ended up that my second month change turned into my third month change too, because I had that better, healthier option already available. Because it wasn't really about, what was sweet or salty. It was more about what was quick, what was there, and what I could have right now. And so for me, that was that better option of being able to make that shift. And so that's why, we want to show you how to replace that bad habit rather than completely remove it. Because like I said, that craving, that impulse, that desire to do whatever it is still going to exist. So you need to figure out a way to balance that.
So the actual things that we chose to place on the tracker sheet aren't just randomly picked. Those are things that we think are super, super important from a healthy habit standpoint, and we look at them as keystone habits. So just changing one can have an impact on a bunch of different things in your life in a positive way. Just improving your sleep. You wake up, feeling a little bit more clear, you feel a little bit more energized, you're more likely to probably say, oh, I feel like getting a workout in this morning, versus, I'm too tired, I'm just going to skip it. Well, you have the workout, you're super jazzed after the workout, no one regrets a workout. Feel good, get a little sweat in, and then you're going into your day with just, that high energy. You're clear, so you might get more done at work, and then, you go into lunch. Because you worked out that day, you're more likely to be like, I'm gonna, choose a healthier option today for lunch, or you're gonna, skip out on eating the cookies that were brought in the staff room or the back of, wherever you would go during lunch break. And then after that, you again, you get a good productive work day. The second half of your day, you go home happy. Things kind of keep that positive, energy. And then, so again, the negative keystone things, and we've kind of said there's negative keystone habits, but I don't know kind of how we do that. It's just negative things can work in the same way. If you do a negative thing, it can kind of lead to the next one and the next one. Someone was saying after the first go through, they were like, if I choose to have that cookie in the break room, I'm going to go back and have maybe 10 that day. Literally, it could be, if they don't choose to do it, every time they walk by, they don't have one that day. It's like in their mind, they were able to, be like, that's not, that doesn't align with what my wellness goals are. I don't need it. I can, do without it. Now, again, that approach is not the most successful approach. If she brought food that day and had those healthy options readily available, that would be, a much more sound approach. But it's an interesting thing to think that one positive habit that you do daily can have a dramatic